Hello my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday the 14th of July 2024. Today's video is for adults only. So if any children in the room, please ask them to leave. Today's video, I decided to call it Aisha's garment, or undergarment rather, and the heavens revelation, or heaven's revelation. This is very strange subject, of course. However, you are talking about the Prophet of Allah. Everything should be strange. So let's examine that, because there is hadith. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it in English, so I'm going to translate it to you and see why I think this is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to read. It's very interesting. I think King James Bible, Jesus' words are printed in red to tell the person who's reading, nobody is narrating. This is Jesus talking, and somehow somebody did that here. So it is long, but if you want the exact area where things are, it is that red area. So where it's printed in red, you can actually copy and paste to Google and have Google translate. You will get a somewhat decent translation. So it says a person to the other person to, anyway, they narrated to one another until it came to the first person who narrated. That was Aisha. The Prophet of Allah, may the blessing of Allah be upon him, was sitting at home, and a man on a horse came right into the house on his horse. So the Prophet came and he spoke with him, and then he came back. The Prophet came back to Aisha after he spoke with him, and Aisha asked the Prophet, who is this person you were talking to? So the Prophet exclaimed and asked, have you seen anybody? She said, yes, I did. I saw a man on a horse, and he looks like Dihya al-Kalbi. And let me stop here for a moment, because this is very important. So who is this man, Dihya al-Kalbi? I spoke of him briefly before when I spoke about Safiya bint Huyay, the Jewish young lady, the Jewish girl who was raped by the Prophet of this nonsense. That man, as I read about him, they are not sure where he originates from. He is not an Arabian man originally. Some people say he is of Jewish roots, and some people say he is of Christian roots. Either way, he is originally seems to be from Europe. He could have been Jewish, living, let's say, in northern part of Europe, and I'm going to explain why, or northern part of Rome then, like the area now known to be Milan. Why is that? Because this man was very white skinned, and he was very handsome, to a point that when he used to walk on the street, women, I have to emphasize, Muslim women, used to open their windows and watch him passing. He was a very handsome guy, and this is the guy whom he took. He was a very big womanizer. I mean, imagine, he's a tall, handsome guy, and the Prophet liked him, and the women liked him. And he seems to have good taste for good-looking women. And Safiya bint Huyay, this Jewish young lady, she was of a very good family, well-fed, well-bred young lady. So I'm very sure she looked very pretty. And when he saw her, he had to take her. He took her. However, that's not written in the hadith or anything. That's my own understanding. Probably another guy liked her too, and he asked, give me this girl, I give you money, or I give you this. And he said, no, this is pretty, this is only mine. Maybe he suggested to share her together, and the guy said no, he wanted her for himself. So jealousy, so he went to the Prophet and he said, because the other guy couldn't get her, so in that case, if you don't give her to me, if you don't share her with me, I'm going to get her out of your hand. So he went to the Prophet of Allah and he told him, this is a pretty girl and she is the daughter of the chief of the tribe. You are the only one who deserve to rape her. So the Prophet of Allah sent to her. He looked at her. She was sure very pretty. So what he did, one hadith says he asked him to choose another woman. Another hadith says he told him, take 7 other heads, as if they are cows or donkeys or camels or goats. Take other 7 heads in exchange for this beautiful girl, for this one head or other. Anyway, he had to agree. Whatever the deal was, he handed out Safiya bint Huyay to the founder of this nonsense. Anyway, coming back to Dihya al-Kalbi, the guy who is very handsome, and he seems to be a very big womanizer, and the women in Arabia liked him a lot. And I tell you, I'm not surprised, because I come from Egypt, and Napoleon Bonaparte, he invaded Egypt with his army, and they settled in an area of west of Cairo. And if you go to this area now, you will see many people, many guys, many men and women with very white skin, and sometimes blue eyes or green eyes. How did this happen? Egyptian people and all the people of North Africa, from Morocco all the way to Egypt, and even the Middle East area, we don't have blue eyes or green eyes. Also, we are not really white. We are not white skin. We are kind of brownish. Okay? And therefore, to have that section in Egypt where Napoleon settled with his army, it tells you something. So the people back then in Arabia, to see this white man, and believe it or not, that's not only in Arabia or Egypt or North Africa. I've been to many countries, and most of them, they love to marry a white man or a white woman. From Far East to the Middle East to even South America, any North America south of the United States, Mexico and going down. It's an honor. Like, I lived in Mexico for a while. You are kind of privileged if you find a white woman in Mexico and marry her, or if a Mexican woman marries a white man. This kind of like you become a privileged person. That's all over. I experienced that myself. Even the fact that when I was in the Far East, the fact that I have pointed nose and not that round Asian feature, uh, many people stop me on the street. They want to talk, men and women. They feel like, wow, this is a Western person. Okay, so this is happening. So people used to look at this man, Dahya al-Kalbi, in Medina, in that Islamic area, as he is almost closer to heaven. All right. So it seems it was not only women who liked this man. Let's see. So the prophet replied, this was Gabriel, the angel. This was Gabriel. So until then, nobody have seen this Gabriel. They only heard from the founder of Islam that there is a creature or whatever called Gabriel came to him and brought the Quran and recited to him. The only person who had seen this Gabriel in the flesh, oh, there's no flesh actually, because he's supposed to be a spiritual being. Okay, he came on a horse, and there's one question here. I mean, I have to stop. There's a question here. Because in the beginning of the revelation, the founder of Islam said himself, Gabriel, he came with 600 wings. He flies with, I don't know how he count these 600 wings, but if you have 600 wings, why do you need a horse? It doesn't make much sense, doesn't make sense at all. Anyway, an angel called Gabriel came looking like Dahya al-Kalbi, who is a very handsome man in Arabia, on a horse. Let's continue. For those, I'm going to put this in the description box, this hadith. It's in Arabic. You want translate, go ahead and translate if you don't speak Arabic, especially number 5, the section number 5. It's highlighted in red. Copy and paste and have Google translate it to you. It may not be a very accurate translation, but it will give you the idea that what I'm saying is correct. Okay, so the prophet told her that this is Gabriel. And you are lucky, you have seen good presentation. He stayed for a while, and then the prophet and Gabriel enter into a room, and then the prophet said, Aisha. She replied, yes, Prophet of Allah. He said, this is Gabriel, and he asked me to say, peace be upon you, salam, or peace. So she replied to the Prophet of Allah. She told him to say peace be upon Gabriel too, or peace to Gabriel. Anyway, at the end, Gabriel, that angel, or angel who looks like this man Dahya al-Kalbi, used to come to the Prophet of Allah to give him inspiration, revelation. And this is the interesting part in the hadith. And no Muslim people, they try to hide that. No Muslim person speaks of that. He used to be with me and the Prophet of Allah in bed, while the Prophet of Allah dressed in my undergarment. There is a word, I put it in Arabic, it means libas. Libas means your clothes, whatever your attire, whatever you put on. But in the colloquial Egyptian, libas also means the only underwear for the private part. So I put it as, because you can read it either way, clothes or the panties for a woman. Okay? So the Prophet of Allah used to put Aisha's lingerie, let's say, her panties and her top or what, I don't know how they dressed back then, especially the something sexy. Okay, the Prophet of Allah used to receive the revelation from Gabriel while the Prophet and Aisha under the blanket together. And then Gabriel comes and joins them, and then the Prophet will receive a revelation. And now that Gabriel looks exactly like this handsome European origin man that they say he was probably a Jew or a Christian from Europe, white skin and very handsome. The question that we should ask, why, what? I mean, I'm sorry. It doesn't add up. Regardless of how handsome my friend may be, even if he's a spiritual friend or an imaginary friend, how can you invite this person or this creature into bed with your wife, with your spouse? Especially this is the woman that you love the most. And why on earth that, if this is really an angel and Gabriel and why would he prefer Aisha? I mean, there was another woman, her name was Salama. She was a very pretty woman. There was Safiya bint Huyay, but we could say Safiya bint Huyay roots is Jewish. Okay, there was Salama. There was the first wife who embraced the Prophet of Allah and loved him and took care of his mental problems. And really, he was out on the street. I mean, he was nobody. She's the one who protected him. Okay? Why Gabriel did not want to see that good woman? In my opinion, she is better than the rest, honestly. Khadija, the first wife. Because she's the one who protected him. She's the one who actually took a lot of hit to keep him alive. And this because of her status in Arabia and her influence. And yet, Gabriel, if he existed, he preferred to come to Aisha, the young bride, that small tiny girl. And something also, it comes up, why a man, also he used to put mascara, the painting, what do you call that, mascara, I believe, the thing that women put on their eyelashes to make it dark, mascara, I think, I'm not sure. The Prophet of Allah used to put that, wear Aisha's undergarment and go to bed, and then he will receive revelation from Gabriel, and Gabriel comes in a form looks like Dihya al-Kalbi, that European origin man. That there is something here we should ask. Was, I mean, there are people who are heterosexual, homosexual, and bisexual. And the situation here really emphasized that. Was he bisexual? Was he a person who, whatever comes, feels good, let's do it? Was it a show? Did he offer Aisha to this Dihya so he can walk? I don't know what. It is really sick revelation, sick altogether, the whole thing. It feels sick. Your wife with another man, or your husband with another man, even if he's an angel. What are they doing together? Or what are you doing all together? Are you in strange activity, sexual activity, or what is going on? So before, for those who say, oh, you are paid, you are Masonic, you are this, read the hadith. We thank you very much. Please comment, share, and subscribe.